The ASUS Scar II with RTX 2060 graphics looks like a good gaming laptop and has been heavily requested, so let's find out just how well it performs in games. I've benchmarked 20 different games at all setting levels to show you how well it runs and help you decide if it's a laptop you should consider buying. Just quickly before we jump into the benchmark results, I'll cover off the specs in my unit. I've got the GL504GV version here, which is the 15-inch version with an Intel i7-8750H CPU, NVIDIA RTX 2060 graphics, and 16GB of memory running in dual channel. The Scar II is also available with RTX 2070 graphics, so expect better results with that configuration. I was running Windows 10 with the latest NVIDIA drivers available, and just as a reminder, we're only looking at gaming performance here. If you're new here, get subscribed for the upcoming full review. Battlefield 5 was tested in campaign mode and not in multiplayer mode, as it's easier to consistently reproduce the test run. The purple bars show the results with ray tracing disabled, while the green bars show RTX on. The RTX results here were alright for medium and low, at least for a laptop, and it actually played okay with RTX on at high and ultra. Although for a first-person shooter game, personally I'd want more FPS and stick to RTX off. Battlefield 1 was also tested in campaign mode, and was performing very nicely, with over 100 FPS easily possible at ultra settings, with medium settings allowing us to take full advantage of the 144Hz 3ms response time panel. Apex Legends was tested with either all settings at maximum or all settings at the lowest possible values, as it doesn't have predefined setting presets. It played well even with max settings, still perfectly smooth with fairly high frame rate, with 37% higher average FPS possible at minimum settings. Far Cry New Dawn was tested with the built-in benchmark, and with ultra settings the average frame rates were fair for this test with almost 60 for the 1% low, with of course higher possible at lower settings. Far Cry 5 was also tested with the built-in benchmark, and the results were ahead of the newer Far Cry New Dawn just covered. Again, alright results for this test. Fortnite was tested with the replay feature, and due to a recent game update, the replay I've used is a fair bit different compared to my previous tests. So these results can't really be compared with my past results. Regardless, even with max settings, over 100 FPS was easily possible in this well-optimized game. Overwatch is another well-optimized game that was tested in the practice range, as other players, bots, and even different maps in actual gameplay affect the frame rate, and this allows for consistent testing. The 300 FPS frame cap wasn't hit here. However, the results are still extremely high, able to take advantage of a high refresh rate panel even at epic settings. Shadow of the Tomb Raider was tested with the built-in benchmark, and the results at highest settings were a little behind another RTX 2060 laptop I've tested, the Aorus 15, although still good results and easily playable no problems. Metro Exodus was tested using the built-in benchmark, which performs worse than actual gameplay, making this more of a synthetic test rather than indicative of actual game performance, but does allow you to perform the same test run to compare. CSGO was tested using the Euletical FPS benchmark, and like always, high frame rates were coming out of this test, with 200 just possible with all settings at minimum, and not much of a drop with everything at medium. Rainbow Six Siege was tested with the built-in benchmark, and is a game I've found to benefit from NVIDIA's new Turing architecture. The frame rates are super high as expected. However, it's worth noting I always use the defaults the built-in presets set, so 50% render scale and TAA. PUBG was tested using the replay feature, and over 100 FPS averages were possible at ultra settings, although there wasn't really much of a difference at the lower levels. I did note that these results were ahead of the 2080 Max-Q in the Alienware M17, and I used the exact same replay file, which seems to be due to throttling in the M17, but still interesting that a 2060 can come out ahead. Assassin's Creed Odyssey was tested with the built-in benchmark, and I was getting above 60 FPS with very high settings. Though still alright results maxed out, as this game doesn't really need a high frame rate to play well, though higher is certainly possible with lower settings. Dota 2 was tested playing in the middle lane with an average amount of action going on, and it was running very smoothly without any problems at all. Not surprising, given it runs well on just about anything. Watch Dogs 2 is a resource-intensive game, but despite this, even ultra settings was able to average 60 FPS, which is plenty, given this is a game I think runs perfectly fine with a solid 30 FPS. Ghost Recon is another demanding game and was tested with the built-in benchmark. Lower frame rates are expected with all but the most powerful laptops at ultra settings in this test. However, there was a fairly good improvement stepping down to very high or below. The Witcher 3 was also running well with Hairworks disabled, with 100 FPS possible at high settings. while low settings allowed us to make use of the 144Hz display. Not that this game really benefits much from a super high frame rate. Doom was tested using Vulkan, and is a game that I always find to run extremely well on modern hardware. With our nice specs here, even maxed out, we're seeing over 130 FPS and up to 160 for the low preset. Strange Brigade was another game that was tested with Vulkan, and was just below 100 FPS with ultra settings in the built-in benchmark, though almost double was possible with low settings. I've only just added this game recently, so I don't have much other data to compare with yet. Shadow of War was tested with the built-in benchmark, and is another game that I've found to benefit from Nvidia's new Turing architecture. The results were decent, with over 100 FPS averages possible at high settings while still looking good. Let's also take a look at how the Scar II compares with some other laptops to see how it stacks up. Use these results as a rough guide only, as they were tested at different times with different versions of Nvidia drivers. In Battlefield 5, I've got the Scar II up the top shown by the red bar. And out of this random selection of laptops, it's a little behind the other 2060 laptop I've tested, the Aorus 15. Here are the results from Far Cry 5 with ultra settings in the built-in benchmark. This time the Scar II was ahead of the Aorus 15 with RTX 2060. This just goes to show it varies by game. These are the results from Shadow of the Tomb Raider with the built-in benchmark at highest settings. In this one, the Scar II was behind the Aorus 15. Overall, I was happy with the gaming performance of the Scar II at 1080p. When I was updating the data in my spreadsheet, I was overriding the old data from the Alienware M17 with 2080 Max-Q graphics, and in many cases, the RTX 2060 of the Scar II wasn't that far behind, due to thermal throttling with the M17, but more on that in a future video. Basically, with the i7-8750H CPU, dual-channel memory, and RTX 2060 graphics with 144Hz screen, we've got a nice gaming machine here. I'll be covering thermal testing in an upcoming video, so if you're new here, get subscribed for that. So how do you guys think the ASUS Scar II gaming laptop with RTX graphics did in these games? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and get subscribed so you don't miss the full review of the ASUS Scar II gaming laptop.